Surface mining is used to extract minerals and metals that are near the surface of the earth. Surface mining can be divided into two categories: open pit mining and strip mining. Mining begins when scrapers remove any non-ore materials, known as overburden. The ore bed then is blasted apart and fragments from the blasting are towed away in large trucks. The area is constantly expanding as the workers continue to dig downward into the ore bed. Usually, the open pit mines end up forming the shape with a huge bowl.
Open pit mining. Open pit mining is the process of extracting metal ores or coal from an open pit. Open pit mines are used when ores are fairly close to the surface. The walls of the pit are stepped, and the flat part of the step is called a bench. The first step in open pit mining is preparing the mine, which includes seeing if the deposit has any value, the difficulty of processing the ore, and if it meets the requirements. Second step is removing any buildings or blockades in the area, removing any underground and surface water, making dams and ditches to retain the water from going into the pit. Third step is digging the pit by drilling and blasting. The fourth step is after extracting the ore. Ecological restoration happens, and that incorporates turning the soil and making it into a green forest.
Strip mining is used when the ore bed covers a broad area but is not very deep. It removes a thin layer of materials, also known as an overburden, to get to the useful materials. It starts off the same as open pit mining. The first step involves removing two long parallel rows of materials. Next, the overburden that is removed from the second row is placed into the first row. The ore then is extracted and a machine removes the overburden from a dirt row. Underground mining is used to mine ores and other valuable minerals in the ground by digging into the ground to extract them. The first step is to make the ores accessible by digging into the site with shafts. During this stage, electricity is being installed in things that will support the mine so it doesn't collapse. This can cause a serious damage to the buildings if a mine were to collapse. When the mine is ready, mining can begin by hand or by machine. This process will cause a large amount of waste that is brought into the surface. The waste often becomes toxic when it comes in contact with the air and water.
Another method of mining is placer/dredge mining. Placer/dredge mining is the removal of gravel, sediment, sand, and rocks from the bottom of a body of water to collect valuable materials like gold. The use of the water separates the wanted ore from the sediment and makes new and deeper berths for vessels. The types of placer/dredge mining are suction dredge mining and alluvial mining. Suction dredge mining is a modern method that includes the use of a strong vacuum. It sucks up materials like rock, sand, gold, gravel, and other materials from the bottom of a creek or river. It then goes through a hose, and heavy pieces like gold are separated from the rest. The other materials go through the recovery system and are washed back into the water. Alluvial mining is a method to extract diamonds. To do this, a boat is floated in a shallow body of water and the deposit is dredged. Mountaintop mining. Mountaintop mining began in the Appalachian Mountains. The steps include 1. Explosives being used to remove the part of the mountain vertically. 2nd, the removal of the debris by huge machinery. 3rd, the waste is dumped in nearby valleys. And 4th, the extracted minerals are then processed. Lastly, reclamation. This is mostly waived for coal companies. The most done is spraying exotic grass seeds over the area, but in the end, drinking water is polluted and homes are put at risk of being flooded.
Shaft mining, also called shaft sinking, is a vertical method of mining. These mines are usually separated vertically by sections, which is used for transportation or ventilation. Workers use a service cage to go to different levels of the mine, and ores are transported to the surface by skips, which is a smaller form of a service cage. Levels of the mine are perpendicular to these sections and lead to ore bodies. To extract the ore, explosives are used to break the bodies into chunks. This method can cause respiratory problems when exposed to harmful dust and injuries resulting in death. Sulfate mining, also known as hard rock mining, is used to mine nickel, gold, and copper from a sulfide-rich ore body. First, there is a cycle of drilling and blazing in order to get the ore out. Then the byproduct, solid waste, is washed with water so that the sulfur can dissolve out. Then the rocks are transported out to the refinery to be processed. When sulfide mixes into the air and water in the atmosphere, it can make sulfuric acid and is harmful to rivers, streams, and other bodies of water. This is known as acid mine drainage, or AMD. You can tell whether a place has been affected with AMD because it is marked by an orange-yellow substance. AMD causes the affected area to be highly acidic. This means that fishes living in the area won't be able to live long and eggs may not be able to hatch. Artisanal mining. There is no common definition for this method, but it has been categorized as an informal mining method that involves minimal machinery and basic principles, and is often used by developing nations. This method may seem simple, but it can be highly dangerous because it is an informal way of mining. This means that there are no safety regulations, equipment, and efficient ventilation systems if needed. This also means that there can be a lack in training and knowledge of chemicals. Mining causes mercury to be a damaging byproduct to the environment and those exposed to it, and is a huge problem in artisanal mining. Mercury can lead to serious illnesses that can result in death. Lastly, artisanal mining also causes financial issues to the government because those who practice this method avoid paying taxes, which limits the government in enforcing laws. Tailings ponds are mine dumps that contain materials left over from the mining, such as water, sand, and chemicals. Although tailings ponds are used to keep the pollution from traveling by wind into populated locations, wildlife often come to these ponds thinking that it is a safe place to drink from. Heavy metal wastes come from mining areas that extract heavy metals. An example of this is mercury. Heavy metals can result in the damaging of nervous systems. It can cause skin and lung diseases and even death. Cyanide is used to separate gold from the ore and is considered a safer way of removing gold than other previous ways. Despite it being safer, there are still issues resulting in the use of cyanide. In large doses, it can prevent the circulation of oxygen in the body. In cases where cyanide is leaked into natural ponds and rivers, cyanide can disturb sea creatures' ability to find food. When in tailings ponds, wildlife that confuses it for a drinking source are at the most danger. If not treated immediately, suffocation will occur. Mining coal. There are two ways to mine coal: surface and underground mining. Surface mining is how the majority of coal is extracted. Explosives are used to break up rocks, which is removed by shovels or trucks. Afterwards, when the coal seam is exposed, there is a system of drilling and fracturing to get the coal. Then it is transported to preparation plants. Underground mining involves setting up rooms in the coal seam with pillars or powered machines holding the roof of the room. Once all the coal has been extracted, the roof is then let to fall. Some dangers when working in coal mines include developing cancer, asthma, respiratory systems, and heart failure. Copper mining. Just like any other mines, the goal is to separate the ore from the substance. In copper mining, the ore is crushed, then blazed, which turns sulfides into oxides. Afterwards, it is transferred for refining purposes. The exposure to the chemicals can cause contamination in water sources for wildlife and humans.